Good day to everybody, to all our listeners. Again, we're once more joined by Mr. Christian Lang. As he promised, he is joining us after he's judged the working females in the German Sieger Show 2024 for the post-Sieger Show evaluation. So welcome, sir.
Great to be here again.
Great. Always glad to have you. So we'll go with the general impressions first. So you judged the Sieger Show. So how did this Sieger Show match your expectations regarding the quality of the females presented? What you had seen throughout the season, as we had discussed prior, in the pre-Sieger Show chapter that we did.
Yeah. We had around first of all, it's the first time that the judge had to do the same class in stock
Yes.
code and long stock code.
Yeah.
So that was some sort of challenge, and it was a good challenge. It was interesting to see the differences and to see the different development in these two classes. Although the age is the same, but it's a total different situation to deal with that. So that was a great experience. We had around 350 females in the competition before the Sieger Show, stock code, and around 130, 140 females long stock code in the competition before the Sieger Show. So referring to this with when it comes to stock code classes, we had, I guess, 3 or 4 classes with over 30 females presented. So from this situation after the Landesgruppen shows, my expectations for the quality of the females at the Sieger Show were really high. Because the quality throughout the year was already exceptional.
Yes.
We had so many classes with high quality, high standard females up to the end of the class, or even up to the end of the class. I hardly did any, I guess overall I had only 5 or 6 females in the whole year that were not V-rated. So
sure.
From that was a really high standard. And from the long stock codes, it was the same. We had I guess, also around 3 classes with more than 10 to 15 females. So also from at that class, my expectations for the quality was high and or were high, and for both classes, the expectations were really fulfilled. I was really happy with the quality of females in the 2 classes. So that was really impressive.
I'd like to just add to what you said. For me, this was the most logical thing to do from approaching everything from a first principles perspective. Why wouldn't the person judging the class be judging also the long stock code version of that class? It just never made any sense to me that we always had a different judge to judge the same age group with a different judge for the code varieties. And it makes a lot more sense that you can see the bloodlines across the gamut of the two code types. So I think this was a great decision by the SV.
Yeah, I guess so. The decision was okay.
Yeah. So were there any unexpected outcomes or surprises in the final placements, especially in the top group?
Well,
we're looking for some spice here.
Yeah, we had finally in the long stock codes, we had I guess around 50 something in the individuals going to the bite work.
Yes.
2 females who were expected to be VA or close to VA, unfortunately didn't make it. So that was that they failed TSB. So that was a little disappointing for them, of course.
Yes.
Other than that, in that competition, there were no special surprises for me. All of the participants knew what they had to expect, what they had to show. They were prepared. Some females weren't able to hold their call position.
Sure.
So they lost spaces, but that's the competition. Some gained spots because of the competition.
Yeah.
Overall, the presentation in the competition was good and solid, and there was no spectacular surprise for me in the outcome. Overall,
Right.
it went like expected. As I said, some didn't hold the position, whatever reason that was, but nothing severe. So the
Yeah.
Longstock code, everything was okay, except those two females who didn't stand the bite work. In the stock code, we had around 120 females for individuals and bite work. We had only few who didn't pass. Unfortunately, one female who was also I expected her to be really high. She didn't make it either. So that was disappointing for them as well. We had, I guess, around 60 in each ring, in each group. So, and what was really nice to see is that the second group, almost all of them showed up to present their dogs. For me, the presenting the dog at the Sieger show should be the highest goal. And it's the top event, it's the top competition, and it's, for me, as I already also mentioned in my comments, if a female was now placed V70, it's V70 out of the 350s presented throughout the season, not V70 from 100 presented at the Sieger show, because all the others who showed up, who tried their luck already in before, they didn't show up again. So that means they would be behind them. So, and I guess if the people understand that the participation at the Sieger show is a special goal to achieve, then the people already, or still will, or for future references, will be more willing to participate again. So that was for me a nice thing to see, that the second group showed up almost entirely.
That's wonderful.
In the first group, we had some who weren't happy with the call out, so they didn't show up, and also some females really high placed, even in the VA group, and they were not happy with the call out. So yeah, everybody needs to decide for themselves if that's the thing to do or not.
Everybody wants the VA one. Just the German VA is not good enough.
Obviously not, no.
So, well, too bad for them, I would say. So we had discussed judging philosophy before the Sieger show, especially in the pre-Sieger show episode that we had done, where you were talking about promoting a certain look of dogs, which was devoid of any exaggerations, normal-looking, functional German Shepherds that you wanted in the first group, that you wanted in the front of the class, and also a little bit about sportsmanship, about fairly showing the dogs without pushing the other handlers, so on and so forth. So reflecting on your decisions, do you think you've achieved a balance between promoting your your ideas and the tradition that's been going on so far?
Well, you can't, no. As a judge, you need to deal with the dogs you get presented.
Yep.
That's what I tried. I tried to find a lineup according to my philosophy, to the way I think a German Shepherd dog should look like. But I cannot say that I did invent everything new. So
I mean, we have the breed standard. If we must only adhere to it.
Yeah, definitely. But I also I needed to work with the females in the competition.
Yes.
I tried to in before the Sieger show, I tried to point out what I don't like in dogs. And most of them, they listened, and then they
Yeah.
just didn't show up afterwards. Some tried it anyway, and then they were happy with the result or not.
Right.
That remains to be seen. But I can't sit here and say that I was able to find the normal looking functional dogs, because there are not that many there yet. Yeah, it's
Sure.
what I tried to find is dogs with a certain body proportion, not the shorter ones that likes in the standard with the
Yeah.
slightly
Yeah.
stretched dogs, females with not overpronounced angulations in the back,
Yeah.
females with a balanced withers, not an extra high withers, females
Yes.
with a showing a balanced movement, balanced front reach.
Yeah.
That's what I tried to line up from number one towards the end. That was one of the things I tried to do, and yeah, that's something the public opinion needs to
Get
verify
used
if
to.
that works or not.
I think it's also a lot of people are looking to the German Seeger Show for direction of how the tone of dogs is set or the style of dogs is set. And when they see, with a lot of people have just, as audience, not even as participants, just seen the type of, because you see a lot of social media posts after the Seeger Show, and you see a lot of exaggerated dogs in the front with, really sloping back lines, or them lifting in the front really high, whether it's the male or females, which has nothing to do with a normal German Shepherd correct gait. But it looks really fancy, and you can see like hundreds of likes under these pictures, and you can see hundreds of adulations and comments, super female, super dog, blah, 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 all this nonsense, when the dog is the furthest away from the breed standard. And but it's being promoted because sometimes are only people too. Maybe they like something more. Maybe they get pressured into putting some dog up, whatever it might be, and then that becomes unfortunately the norm. And then more and more people are trying to breed towards that ideal to get to that picture. And I was actually quite happy to see your front group, who's whatever we had discussed, you had, from the available dogs, you had put the ones that fit the description the best. So whatever it's worth, my gold star is with you.
All right, thank you. Yeah,
So
that's it. Yeah, we tried
yeah.
our
So
best, and yeah.
was there any particular females that challenged your judging criteria, and how did you resolve it? Like there was like some really special dog that you wanted to put in the front, or some alternative bloodlines that challenged the criteria that you had, but you wanted to promote the dog. Was there anything like that in the entire class?
Um, Honestly, when it comes to bloodlines, there was not that much of variety.
Yeah, very homogenous at
Um,
the moment.
there were no alternative females presented. We had some working line females
Yes.
that also were really good prepared. So they could move up some spaces, but
Yeah.
obviously they stayed at the end of the class, but not
Sure.
as last, but at the end of the class. In the front of the class, I would say the first 30 or 40 females, there was no alternative bloodline I could promote. I tried to look after it, but at a certain point, you need to accept that there is no there's no gold mine you'll find under these to say that's the new that will be the new guidance or the new mother line for the future of our breed. So it's I tried to find a good mix, but there was no major selection possible because there was no variety.
Sure. Yeah, the bloodlines have gotten rather homogeneous over the last decade or so, and there are no alternative dogs that have been promoted. So, of course, it's like yesterday's winners is today's popular stud dog. And so on and so forth.
When it comes to alternative bloodlines, we consider a dog without Remo or without Omen, Opus, Rathaus, we consider them alternative.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, but that it came so far to tell the people this is an alternative bloodline. If the pedigree doesn't show Remo or doesn't show Olita Rathaus in the first 4 generations, then it's an alternative dog. That's how far it came. And therefore, I don't think we can discuss of alternatives when it comes to that. No,
this is unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah, it's I love open words. It's just the way it is. We can't change it. We are not in the position to change it, and the people they will not accept any changes when it comes to that. So just to name it, this is not alternative bloodlines because there is some special ancestor missing in the first 4 generations. This doesn't make any alternative as far as we want to call it alternative.
Yep. And so building upon that, as far as breed trends and concerns go, like we just addressed one with the alternative bloodlines. After observing the progeny of several females that were in your top group, do you see any emerging trends or concerns or anything that would encourage you about our breed in the immediate future from these existing dogs? Not to go into hypotheticals, but from the dogs that we observed.
Yeah, we had hold on. I will open the file and I can tell you right away. So where's Siegershaw? Yeah.
So it's safe to say that the representation of the bloodlines in the Seeger show did not pan out for the advocacy of genetic diversity.
Well, it will not be diversity. I just can point out the dogs or the males with the most offspring in the shows we had. It was at number 1. It was Usha. He had with
Usha Brunenstrasse. That's a son of Willy Kuckucksland.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had Usha. Then we had Reno, Angelius' team. He had also a lot of females.
This is the son of Neogatas.
before the Sieger show, not at the Sieger show.
Yeah.
We had a lot of Mio females before the Sieger show, also not at the Sieger show. Vakron.
This is also going back to Willy Kukuxlan.
Yes. Telgatas were also a lot of females. That's a different line now, Telgatas. It's going
different.
back to Quen. Yeah. Then there was also quite a few out of ASAP.
Yeah.
And Nero Gatas. That was, but that's what the most, or the fathers with the most offspring in the classes I had, including the Sieger show.
Yes.
So, and if you consider that, I guess the question about the variety is already answered.
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. But again, going back to Vakron, it goes back to essentially the same blood, going back from Geri Hunegrav. We're going again back to Olita Radhaus. We've got Willie going again back to Olita Radhaus. So the breeders have clearly chosen their type from the winning dogs, and they keep going back to those dogs for breeding. What were the faults of their ancestors prevalent in the children as well, or did you see some departures from the mothers?
Yeah, the thing is, I tried this year to put a focus also on progeny of the females.
Yes.
To see.
Yes, I remember we spoke about it.
Yeah, and it was quite surprising how few females were in the competition with actual offspring up to working class level. Right. We had some females, I guess it was about 1/3 of the class that had already offspring in the stock code.
Yes.
But out of them, also again, only a small percentage had offspring in the competition, in the whole competition, in the whole Sieger show. So I think the goal for the breeders and the owners of the females should be to breed their females and to show female and offspring, and then it should also be a part of the judging to see if a female has offspring in the competition, to look at that as well.
Yes.
So no, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was done.
Okay, sorry. So as far as the presentation and performance that we've spoken about earlier, and we talked about the off-leash to maintain a fair picture, because it's not a race. Obviously, we're trying to evaluate the gait of the dogs. So you'll see people trying to overtake each other and trying to run into each other, and you'd spoken very strictly about it before the Sieger show, and you'd made the ground rules clear about the presentation. So how did the off-leash requirement, the way you had presented it, influence the competition? And do you think it helped in showcasing the authentic side gait of the dog, or the authentic working structure of the dog, instead of a manipulated picture?
First of all, that I requested the off-leash in the individuals.
Yes.
I was not the first who wanted that. It's so even Dr. Beck in ancient history, he always had the off-leash with the.
It was a nice throwback.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me, and I guess also for him, this has nothing to do with working ability. It was never my intention to judge the way the females were able to heal.
Maybe I should rephrase the question. By working ability, I mean the actual working structure of the dog, not the training of the dog.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I'm come.
Okay.
Hold on. Just be a little patient.
My apologies, sir.
No problem. My goal, I had two things in mind when doing this at the beginning of the season. First, I was definitely sure, and I guess nobody can debate on that, that without help of the leash, the stability of the backhand will be open like a book.
Yes.
So, and if we want to have a focus on that, it's the easiest way to see if a dog or a female has real issues there or not. So
Yeah.
that was the one part of it. And the second part of it was to have a gating, a balanced gating without the extra trained unnatural presentation. So and what I from the beginning of the season up to the Sieger show, what I really noticed is that the people worked with their dogs to get a
Yeah.
better relation and connection to their dog without the toy or anything, because they couldn't motivate the dog and have the fixation on a toy. The dog
Yeah.
needed to work with the handler. They needed
Yeah.
to interact with the handler to make a nice picture. And it was really interesting for me to see how the people at the beginning were hesitant and also were not happy, but towards the end they understood the goal and they worked with it and they worked
Yeah.
on it. And that was even in a short time, like the last Landesgruppen show, where some females just didn't make it, when they came back at the Sieger show, they did work with the dogs. And I'm
I
pretty
love it.
sure for those dogs, it was a nice experience that they get some closer connection to the handler instead of yeah, a standard training program with the ball in the
Yeah.
hand and just running for the ball.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and I really liked the way that the females had a balanced movement compared to each other. And what I really need to say or need to point out, the people stayed fair in the competition, and also the people in the stadium stayed fair. If somebody was slower because of handicaps or age or something,
Yeah.
there was hardly no yelling or whistling or whatever because they were not happy with the lineup or whatever. There was a fair a fair as fair spectators, fair competition. So that was nice to see.
That's wonderful. And was there any, like, most progress team? Were there any handlers that were struggling in the beginning? Some teams that did really well that you'd like to point out, if you remember some on the
Yeah,
top
but
of the
there were definitely some who struggled at the beginning, and this is something I definitely will take to my grave then.
I try to get it out of you. It didn't
They
work.
were embarrassed. They were embarrassed for the much. I don't need to embarrass them for the
No,
public
no,
again.
no, no. I'm saying we recognize their efforts that they did so much better in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did really see nice improvement. I also was happy to see people with really already well prepared dogs who did or everything really nice. But mostly I appreciated the dogs without the just doing the balanced movement, without the intention of running away or whatever, just a balanced movement. And then I was happy, and that made a good picture for me.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So coming back to our community after, the little hustle, the little kerfuffle that you caused with them actually having to bond and work with their dogs and not just doing things as they've always been done. What was the feedback that you get? Was there any feedback from the breeders that you've received or from the spectators about the judging approach of the season?
I'm I
Because
don't
there's
think,
opinion as the day is long. Did you hear some back?
yeah. I I don't I don't think that I'm that important, that it's important how the people think about it. Obviously, those who had success, they were happy. Those who had no success, they were not that happy.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, or the end of the year, or the end of the season, I'm I'm fine with the way we started, we followed it, and we ended it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not. I'm not that important that I need. I need. I don't need applause for me. As long as the people get applause, give applause to the females, then I'm happy as well. So that's all.
That, well, maybe I should again reframe it then. My apologies. I did not mean to you as an individual. I meant the approach that we should. So, because these weren't bad ideas. This was like you should be bonding with your dog more. You should have a more cohesive relationship with your dog. The presentation should be more natural so we can actually judge the dog and not the caricature that you're making. So, what was the response to that? Is what I was getting at.
Yeah, I got some responses, as I said, to that it was a good thing that you could see the development of the females. But I also got comments like, why? Why should we do that? Others don't do it. Why does he think he's so special to do it that way? It has nothing to do with me. That was just an idea, and it was not. I was not the first one who had these
Yeah.
ideas. So and I I had some arguments why. No, there were some points why I
Yes.
thought it was a good idea, and I think
Yeah.
in reflection of it, it was a good idea. So
Oh, absolutely.
as I said, I'm fine with it. So it's okay. And but I'm also sure the people will be happy if next year whoever does the job will not ask for that. So
So, one thing I'd like to point out, I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but I would like to point out as a spectator from across the ocean, the one thing I really loved was that you had your family in the ring and you were actively involving your daughters. I don't know if you want to, touch on that. I can tell you what I appreciated about it. I appreciated that the leadership of the SV understands that the future of our sport is the next generation, and we have to involve them early on to make them an integral part of this. I saw other children on the podium with their parents when their dogs were winning. They were calling their dogs, they were bringing the water buckets. To me, it was really wholesome instead of, drunk guys smoking cigarettes, pushing each other, yelling at each other. It was like a more wholesome environment. I really enjoyed it. Would you care to comment on that? What were your thoughts behind it?
actually, there was no thought. For me, uh, my family is part of me, and I'm part of my
Yeah.
family. So there was never
Yeah.
a thought of not involving them, or there was also no thought of now I'll create something special. No, it was just the way I deal with my children since the day they were born. They are with me on shows, they are with me on breed surveys. Um, the people who know me better, they already know that they are most of the time around. When they are not with me, they ask, where are the children today? And say, oh, they have some better things to do than than me watching judging. So
Yeah.
I honestly I didn't give it that much thought. It was just for me, it was the absolute normal way to deal with it, because that's
Yeah.
the way I do it all the time. They
Sure.
are I enjoy their company and they enjoy being with me. Probably in 5 years they say,
Yeah.
leave me alone, do your thing. And so as long as they like to do it,
Yes.
I am happy to have them with me no matter what.
That's
So, and
wonderful.
that was not a special statement I tried to settle. It was
No,
just,
of course.
for me, it was just the normal way of dealing with it. So I'm, yeah, I also didn't expect it to be that kind of a discussion point, if that could affect anything.
Sure.
So I know that it didn't affect anything, but for
Oh,
me,
I
it was.
I would say that I would say you are wrong there. It did affect something. So I'm looking at the photos with I have a small daughter too, and we're looking at the photos of the Seeger show, and she goes, "What are the babies doing there in the show?" I said, "They're helping their dad," and she goes, "Oh, can I help you next time when you go to the show?" I said, "Yes, of course." So to say that it didn't affect anything, I'd say I'm happy to report that you're wrong there.
I'm. I'll no problem. I will take this and thank you for correcting me. And it's they really did help. They did help in the individuals. They did help in the lineup. They did help the coordination with the dogs. So they really did help. And for me, it makes no difference if they are 7 like they are, or if they are
Yeah.
12 or 17 or
Yes.
70. It
Yeah.
makes no difference. For me, it's they are human beings. They want to
Yes.
be there. Why shouldn't they be?
I agree. I
And
completely agree with you.
and from my perspective, as having the chance to do that event, to judge that event, for me, definitely it was also it was there was no discussion from the beginning that I would do it without my family.
Yeah. Uh, hats off
So
to you, sir. That's
and
wonderful.
that's that's the way I follow life, because
Yeah,
family is what matters most.
absolutely.
And
Without a doubt.
I think the people should, if they look inside, and some need to probably look deep inside themselves, they find the situation that sometimes it should have been the same when they were young.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't come from a family like yours that was multiple generations into this. I am the first generations into Schutzhund and dog sport, but I loved to see these father-daughter or father-son teams in Germany, which was so common at one time, and it's dropped off significantly. But it was like again, it was like a great throwback where there was actually family involved in the event and everybody's doing together as a cohesive unit and enjoying the dogs as it's supposed to be, not some
Thank
sort of
you.
deranged competition.
Yeah.
So, looking forward, based on this judging experience for this entire season, culminating at the Seeger Show, what recommendations would you give breeders for future competitions and the direction?
First of all, I hope that the people will understand that we can't go on like we used to in the last 10 years. We need to look that our dogs fit better in the public eye. And that's something
Yes.
the breeders are responsible for the dogs in the competitions. It's not a judge.
Absolutely.
We can only judge what's there. And if there are, let's say, 20 dogs and all are with a really sloping top line, roached backs, overangulated, if all of them are that, we need to find a lineup no matter what. That's why
absolutely.
the people
Yeah.
have a judge to tell them, okay, this is the quality you have. You need to find a lineup. That's what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's the breeders to work that these extreme dogs are not the norm. They are they get less. That's what the breeders need to work for.
There should be the negative outliers.
That's what I hope, that the breeders will understand, that breeding for whatever market is not what we need to follow up. That's not what we should have. That should not be the goal for the next 5 to 10 years.
So I will get a little bit controversial here, and you can stop me when you need to. We know that there's not just in humanity. We follow our peers. Like we talk about pack drive in our dogs. People have pack drive too. They follow the community. They want to fit in. They want to be a part of something, right? So there are not many outliers that want to think outside the box because it's inconvenient. They say, hey, why do you want to do this? It's so much work. Hey, you'll go in the back. Who cares? This is winning, or these are the right dogs that the collective we are looking for. So I'm saying, what I would say, it's easy to say that, yes, of course, and it is the right thing to say that the end result lies with the breeders, and that's what I say all the time too. But I think it's becoming more and more a talking point because the breeder, when there's no, so also people are motivated towards a goal to work towards, right? And it's hard to set your own goals. You work towards a goal where, let's say, the organization sets, or a certain leadership sets, or you have somebody who has a vision set the goal, and then you progress on that goal. So would you agree or disagree that we're lacking that vision and that goal? And do we need to create a goal where we need to work towards? It's easy to say, yeah, should be more moderate dogs, but like more concrete things to put in place, more guardrails, instead of just creating, saying just general statements. Like we said, it's an alternative bloodline if the dog isn't in the first 4 generations.
I don't think that we are missing concrete goals. I think, well, this is kind of philosophical then. Sometimes.
What else you do on a cold afternoon?
Sometimes the human nature is to follow the easy way.
Yep. The path of least resistance.
And the easiest way is not always the best way. And this is something we need to understand again, because we already have been there. We need to understand again, and we, as the judges, we also need to do the right guideline, to set the right guidelines, to tell the people, okay, this is not the way we want it to be for the future. I'm not telling that we can't do a 180 right now. This is nothing we can do. We have this is the the dogs we have. This is the material we have, and we need to work with that. And it's a slow progress, but it has to start in the head of the breeders to set the goals in a different way. And it's us as the judges to set some to draw some lines, to say, okay, for this year, this is too much.
Yes,
You need
sure.
you need to change something. Next year, probably the dog who was okay for this year is again too much. So then
Sure.
we need to the lines need to follow towards the goal. That's our responsibility, and the breeders will need to follow. So I guess the goal is there, and it's up to us.
So let's say if we talk about nuance, we can add some nuance to this. So let's say we've been talking about size for a long time, right? From for the last 20 plus years, almost 30 years, I've been hearing about size, 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 big dogs, big dogs. We need to fix. We're still talking about it, right? But what's happened as a consequence, we've gotten a lot of dogs, which we had before as well, of the right size, and we still have big dogs, which is of course to be expected because it's the same population. The population didn't change. And the new trend that emerged was again the deeper briskets, the shorter front legs, which was not the case when you look at, let's say, even 10, 15 years ago. I was just looking at pictures, a couple of old magazines I had from Germany. Just even 15 years ago, the dogs looked completely different. I mean, it looks like a really bad and a quick progression downhill where the dogs of today are compared to even the type of dogs that we had 15 years ago. And 15 years is not a long time for a whole race to evolve or devolve or to be selectively bred in one direction. So my question would be, if there is a dog that is, of course, the correct size, and then you have a dog that is very clearly outside the standard in size, my preference as a breeder myself would be to go breed to that dog that's outside the standard, but completely the right proportions, than the dog that is 64 centimeters, but he has the legs of a corgi. Well, because I'm not going to get anywhere with that, because that would be stupid of me to breed to a 64 centimeter dog just because Mr. Breed Warden said, hey, we need to fix size. I'm destroying the entire forehand of my dogs if I introduce that blood into my dogs.
Yeah. That's something I was pointing out for several years now.
Yes.
It would be interesting to have all the, let's say, all the judges, national judges, for the SV judges, and also the international judges, you have the basic anatomical marks, and to point out what is more important or what is worse compared to each other. So, for example, is it more if you have a dog with a steep forehand or a dog with a slopey croup? What is worse? What would be the what is more necessary to select out? And then if you get, I would say, an outcome or from these experts,
yes,
then you could write down judging and reading advices.
Sure.
That everybody has the same guidelines. Of course, some has different preferences, but it cannot be that, as you said, for example, a dog with 64 centimeters, but from the proportions 50-50, from the legs to the body.
I mean, it's aspirational if they're 50-50.
Huh?
I said it's aspirational for them to be even 50-50. Now it's the other way around.
Yeah. And on the other hand, we have one that is 67, but with perfect proportions.
Yeah.
And then there should be some, it should not be in the opinion of a
Yeah.
judge to say, this is, for me, this is okay. No, it
Yeah.
should be a strict, that should be a guideline, because when we want to the breed to develop in the right direction, we need some straight guidelines. And
Yes.
that should be followed by all of the people who are responsible for the breed. And this
Yeah.
is the judges, because the judge's decision is followed by the breeder's decision.
Sure. So to build upon that, if we were to create this committee, so to speak, and they were entrusted with the development of the German Shepherd for the next 5 years or so, let's say, what specific changes would you prioritize, and where would you lay the most emphasis in terms of development, whether it's genetic diversity, whether it's working ability, whether it's functional structure, or of course, community involvement?
In
No,
my opinion,
no, so yeah, so your opinion, let's say we're not saying you are selected to do it. Let's say there's this committee that we just talked about. So we pass on the blame to that committee. So you're not responsible, right? So this fictional committee that we have put together, that has been voted by the membership and has been elected through the right channels, has come in. What would their direction be? See, I can use the manipulation points just like you.
is total fictional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Committee.
Everything is fiction, totally fictional.
Total
There's no
fictional
names, there's
committee.
no people. It's a fictional
Yeah.
club. Everything a fictional population. No real world consequences.
Yeah, they will live in outer space. Yeah.
We do actually.
Yeah, from a certain point, of course. Yeah. It's
Just depends where you're looking from.
All is the point of view. All is the point of view.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think this is a difficult to answer, and I can only give my opinion. I think
Should I break it down? Let's break it down point by point, and then we can go over them and see where we go. Is that okay?
What point by point?
The whole getting deeper and deeper. So
okay, go ahead.
Let's talk about, and we can separate it into a separate episode if you like. It's not a problem if you don't have time right now.
Okay, go ahead and we'll see.
All right, cool, great. So let's talk about genetic diversity and bloodlines, which we touched in the first half of the interview. What steps? Obviously, we know we're in a homogeneous glut right now. There's not a lot of diversity, and we do have an alternative population with diversity compared to our dogs. When you mix the populations, there will be naturally diversity, especially in immediate results. And that's, of course, we'll lose homogeneity, and that's the whole point, that we lose some homogeneity, that we have a little bit of variation in type. So what steps would you take to encourage, or what steps would this committee take to encourage breeders to incorporate less popular bloodlines into their programs while maintaining quality as prescribed in the breed standard, not in their not the stylized type that might be in their head that they would think would win?
When it comes to genetic diversity, I guess one possible thing to do would be every follow-up generation, you need to skip one generation without line breeding.
Sure.
This would
and how
help
many generations? Yeah.
5 at least.
Sometimes I think some line breeding would be more helpful to breed on certain dogs to get away from the popular dogs even.
Yeah, but if you stop line breeding for or would say, okay, for this generation there will be no line breeding allowed, closer 5 generations, then you have to go outer. It,
Yeah,
we also could do the extreme and say no line breeding for 10 generations. For this
sure.
one generation. In the next
Yeah,
generation, you can do the line breeding again, and the
yeah,
following generation, no line breeding again. So this would split up.
right,
And I guess
right.
this would be this would be a compromise the people could work with
Sure, sure,
instead
sure.
of cutting all the line breedings for, let's say, the next 10 years. This would for the people be a bigger problem. So that would
Yeah,
be
I understand. I
something.
completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you see any way to avoid over-reliance on certain sires and prevent the narrowing of the gene pool, like we discussed? We have yesterday's winner, who is today's popular stud, or is this a natural consequence of the dog's popularity? And how would we discourage that?
Well, there's always a discussion about reducing the stud amount
Sure,
to give the other dogs more possibilities.
sure.
Um, this is one point of it.
Yeah.
The contra point of it is if you do it that way, there will be only a small elite who will be able
Yes.
to use the really good dogs, pay a lot of money for the
That still happens
start.
today.
Yeah, but maybe in the first half year, not later. After there are some dogs that are really
Yeah.
popular when they start going into stud work.
Sure, sure,
It
sure,
all evaluates after a certain time. There's
sure.
not that much that are really in a. We have 90 allowed in Germany.
Yeah.
It's hardly any who have 90 in a
Yeah.
year.
That's true.
So in the first time, let's say the first half year, there is the selection for the elite, sure,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
will follow up if you reduce it. Let's say a dog can only do 30 studs a year, then for
Hmm.
these super popular dogs, the stud fee will rise up to 2,000 or 3,000,
Sure.
and so that's also a bad way.
No, yeah, it takes away from the smaller breeders again.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of that. I think this will this will work itself.
What if we completely remove stud restrictions?
Yeah. If we remove stud restrictions.
You can do, if you can do 365 breedings a year, do 365 a year. If they're not even getting
Do
90,
you think this would be fair to the dog?
I mean, for me, no problem. If it was the stipulation upon me, so yeah, just make my wife agree.
I think it would not be fair for the dog because this is
I think we're conflating males and females. So for a female, of course, she cannot make multiple litters a year, but the male has. I don't think personally the males have any problem.
Yeah, okay, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I this is something yeah, something I would need to think about. Yeah, but
Sure, sure,
spontaneous reaction, I would say, not my idea.
sure. I would argue that this would not be an angle of animal welfare because this says the male doesn't have libido, the male doesn't have libido, right? But if the male has libido and the possibility to do this, if we're not, so technically, if we're not even getting 90 breedings a year, how are we going to get 365 breedings a year? But what
Ah,
we
of course
do,
not.
right? So
Yeah,
what we're doing is when we're looking, because the number of litters registered is falling drastically, right? So if you're do because I there was a time I think even as late as Zamtermados when he was always full. Like there was
yeah,
females in waiting for him. If he didn't breed one female, say, hey, I got my female here. Maybe you can breed my female. And he didn't like that one. So
yeah.
we have now we don't have the studs are not even getting their quota of 90 studs. So if there's no restriction, then the stud owners are not so inclined on creating a certain picture. It's like, oh no, don't breed this female. Maybe some great female will come later, and I'll have a restriction later on to breed, so on and so forth. Maybe the idea would be to, if you argue about animal welfare, to make something like brucellosis testing mandatory. In the absence of brucellosis testing, we should be able to do side by side. So we're talking about, artificial breeding instead of, because it still happens, whether we like to look the other way or not. This,
Yeah.
even in Germany, it still happens, whether we lie to ourselves and say it doesn't happen, because I've seen it happen. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I've seen it happen. So, and with VA dogs, because the dog has zero libido. So it's not like that dog's not in the gene pool. He's very much in the gene pool. And if there was not dogs like that before him that also happened to, he would not have been created, right? So that's an artificial problem, I think, that we're trying to solve in a geographic location, like small geographic location like Germany, where there's abundance of males, so to speak. And then people like people in North America who traverse vast distances or are subjected to vast distances for travel to breed in the SV way. I think this was an unintended consequence of that restriction. So I cannot breed my female with a male that is 5,000 miles away, let's say in California on the other coast, if I want to breed to that
Yeah.
dog, and I don't have any way because airline travel is getting harder and harder. The only way I can get is fresh chill semen from that dog if there's a dog that I really like for breeding. And but I can't do it because I'm stuck here because of SV restrictions that you can't do this.
I
Also,
think
what would
just one thing.
yes,
To widen the gene pool
yes,
in Germany and worldwide. I guess
yes,
the thing with the artificial insemination would
yes,
be a good thing.
absolutely.
Um, it's we probably need um, to evaluate that we don't lose the natural ability. So that needs to be some
Yeah,
guidelines how that is done. But the strict no, that should be we should rethink it because of there might be some good males in, let's say, South America or
sure.
wherever, that would benefit the breeding in Germany or North America or wherever. We
All,
cannot mix them together because they are just out of reach.
right. Well, also talking about the elite conversation that we were having. Right now, only if you have an extra $10,000 in your bank is you can fly to Germany to breed to a stud because of all the
Yeah,
airline restrictions, the health checks, blah blah blah, the whole travel itinerary, and you still don't have a guarantee of puppies. So that would substantially decrease the
yeah,
cost of accessibility to people that are outside of Germany, even to come and breed
yeah,
to certain dogs, or bring semen from outside Germany, or the popular dogs that end up in China. Uh, Invariably, so they are cut off from the world, and everybody's like, "Oh, another great dog lost to China." Well, the first thing is like, if he was such a great dog, then you should have pooled your money and bought him, instead of talking to these people that they're destroying the breed. They're doing their idea. It's upon you, the collective you, all of us, to make sure what we're breeding and what we're not breeding. Then the second thing is, even if that is the case and those dogs are sold to China, we still have access to artificial insemination to bring their semen back to Europe and America and Australia.
yeah. Yeah, this is something we really need to consider. I guess this is a new. We need to reevaluate this situation. Yeah.
Great. So to build upon that, we can go to structure and health. So you've spoken about balancing aesthetics and functionality in our previous podcast and earlier today. How would you emphasize the importance of producing structurally sound dogs while still appealing to the mass appeal of the dogs that we have today?
I guess it's not the difference is not that big. Um, we need to we need to select those with the extreme angulation, we need to select those with short body proportions compared in not according to the standard, and we need to find a, let's say, a body harmony.
Yeah.
So I guess this is not it's not that big of an issue if we get in our head that the picture is not, that is not the perfect picture. So if that comes in the heads and in the minds of the breeders, then this will, I think it will be changed sooner than we think. So, and then if the body is more in a harmonious way, the structure for also function will follow, because the aesthetic of the and the elegance of a German Shepherd is still there. And that's the focus we need to lay on again.
Sure. And what strategies would you propose to address these long-standing issues, like the exaggerated rears that we just spoke about, and the exaggerated backlines and the deep-chested proportioned dogs?
It's all about selection.
Yeah.
It's all about selection. When you have when you what the selection needs to start when you decide whether to use the female for breeding or not. It needs to start when you decide which male to use for your female. And it's all about selection. There's nothing else is important than saying this is not the structure I want to have. And because of this, that all are related. The pedigree and the bloodlines is not that important as it used to be 30 years ago. Checking, this, what is the ancestor of this? It's all the same, so it doesn't matter. It's all it comes all down to phenotype.
Yes.
So and if we choose phenotype male, phenotype female, that's what they should look like. And then we have to choose from the puppies, and the next generation will be a step forward.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
How do we encourage?
It's not always that easy to get a better female out of each litter. But that's not the point. You need to see if that's if that next generation is out of line, then you should skip it. Then you should try it with the next litter.
Yeah.
And that's the way we breed works. It's a selection breed. It's not anything else.
Yes. And then talking about selection, and we had spoken about putting the control back more in the hands of breeders and the small breeders last time, because the pendulum has swung so far this side for the calibrated the working tests, so to speak, or the competitions that we have for our breed that are masquerading as breed tests, which are not breed tests anymore. We can simply agree to that. We talked about how we have new testing that's coming out with the SV, how it's being simplified. The new rules with the SV have simplified, the FCI IGP rules, I should say, have simplified the IGP1 title, which is the basic breeding title, which has been simplified slightly further with different tracking restrictions and obedience restrictions, and also in the protection phase. And we had talked about this implementing the ZAP test as a whole across the board from Germany to the FCI countries that are part of the WSV. Do you believe we need these new tests as adjusted requirements to better evaluate the working ability and not the training of the trainer and character of the breeding dogs? And if so, what would these look like?
Again, tough questions. It's already late in Germany, you know.
It's a fictional committee.
Okay.
Yeah, you need a second glass of Coca-Cola, I think.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. A couple of years ago, I spoke to someone who is in familiar with genetics, science, and everything.
Sure.
And he said the heritability of
Yeah.
an IGP result is close to 0.
Yeah.
So when it comes to selecting a dog for breed,
Yes.
it's not the most important thing to see if he is well trained.
Absolutely.
And I will not add any further comment on that. Because I think IGP title is important, but it's not the most important thing to select in breed.
I completely agree with you. So I was just saying, I'm not talking about IGP trainers per se. I'm just talking about the giving the control back to the breeder. So there's a really famous quote by the infamous Mr. Helmut Reiser that I really took to heart. And he said it a long time ago. He says, the people breeding dogs without without training those dogs. By training he meant, of course, not high titles, by living with the dog, see how the dog behaves and all that stuff, is like breeding those people breeding dogs without ever working with their dogs, would be a better way to put it. It's like the blind trying to tell you about colors.
Okay.
So if you don't know the behavior of your dog, you don't know whether your dog has good social drive, whether your dog is a nervous dog or a happy dog, whether it's a submissive dog or whether it's a nervy dog, whether it has good prey drive, whether it likes to fight, get in fights with a helper, or he enjoys that conflict or wants to avoid that conflict, naturally wants to work with you or wants to be in avoidance of you, or is just like just a low drive, high threshold dog that doesn't want to do much. When you're just breeding it based on a picture, like most of the world is breeding, they're looking at these Photoshop pictures of the dogs and say, oh yeah, that one looks pretty. I'm gonna get a puppy from this dog. I get inquiries from, let's say, countries like India or Southeast Asia quite often. I'm sure you do as well. Though, do you have puppies of the VA1 male? It's like, what does that mean, VA1 male? Oh, I need a puppy from the VA1 male. Or do you have puppies from the VA2 male or whatever it could be? And on the converse, you have the people on the working line or the working side. They're not devoid of this either. They're only looking at scorebooks while breeding. This dog won this championship. This dog won this championship. I'll give you another example. I'll personalize this. So I think for me, the best Henrik from Wolfsheim son that I have ever met. And I met a lot of them because I was really interested in this male. And the male I have is an absolutely outstanding specimen of the breed in my book. He has excellent structure. He has really good social temperament. He is great with other dogs. He can be around people. He can be in the house. He can stay inside a kennel. He does not have anxiety. But when we are on the field, he is extremely pronounced in the bite work. He gives 100% in the obedience. And he is he has so much drive to give you in work. And now and for me, this is a great dog that I've used with my females, and I've had great children from him that inherit those qualities as well. But when we write off a dog like this, so I had somebody says, oh yeah, I'm interested, I like your dog, but why is he only IGP2? Is there something wrong with the dog? This is the type of thinking we have. It's like, oh, must not be good enough, that's why he's only IGP2. Just didn't have the time to trial him, or didn't have the time to train him. So he's only SG2 right now, or whatever. This was last year. But this is the lens we color, or this is the lens through which we see our world, is these titles, which has nothing to do with the quality of the dog.
I would put it that way. The titles are and probably should be a goal for the sports.
Yes, absolutely.
The evaluation of the character and the drives and the abilities to fit in society should be a different thing to evaluate.
Absolutely.
And it was tried to do that with the character assessment. In theory, I guess the theory was a good thing.
Yeah.
But what is done is that the people train for the character assessment
Yes.
as much as they train for a trial or whatever, and it's some behavior
Classical
can't be
conditioning.
trained, some behavior can't be trained, but the overall picture is a trained dog you get in the character assessment as well. So
Yes.
And this will always be the situation. If the
Of course.
people, everybody who knows there will be a test,
Yes.
they will try to practice for it.
Yes.
So, and every practice will ruin the basics that are there.
True.
So you will be never in the position to really see the pure nature of this dog, because socialization, then this begins from even before the day the puppies are born, is the socialization. And
epigenetics.
if some people are really into this, it makes such a big difference. You probably know that by yourself. It makes such a big difference if the puppies grow up with little children or without.
Yes.
It's so much difference, because you definitely know those puppy will not scare anything.
Yeah.
If they survive this one, they will not be scared of anything. So
that is true.
So what is the genetic relevance then? It's nothing to do with genetics. It has to do with the way they are raised.
True.
So, and I guess that also is what probably Reiser might have been missing. Of course, you need to work with your dogs, sure, but by intensive work, you can mask so many issues.
Absolutely, yes, for sure.
The outcome is still like the blind one wants to describe colors.
Yeah, well said.
That's nature.
But I like the point that you made about the Wesenbohrteilung, that there is no scores appointed. Even though people are training for it, they're showing the dogs, they're conditioning the dog to the scenarios and such. But the one good thing I like is the evaluation is an assessment. It's not a score given. There's disqualifying criteria to it, and there's passing criteria to it. But it's again a description, just like the Kur is a description. There's no points in the Kur. It's either you're angekort or you're not, right? So either you got the Wesenbeurteilung or you didn't. And I think and in the beginning I thought, oh, what nonsense is this? This is bullshit. This shouldn't be so. they're destroying the sport, blah blah blah. And was my first reaction. Why are they doing this? This is not cool. The more I thought about it, the more genius of the system I saw is it's you still have to use your own eyes as a breeder when you see the dog in front of you. You cannot rely on a scorebook of 100 points. You still have to be able to, in this system, you're reading the descriptions of how the dog acted instead of the judge says an arbitrary 97 points or an arbitrary 70 points, so to speak. We, I think, would be better served, like we had discussed in a previous conversation, if we had an IGP or another working test or evaluation system where we were not given points or gradings, but actually descriptions of the behavior. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
I think that would
sure.
open up the normal or the everyday people a lot more to participating with their dogs again than to send them off to an XYZ place which warehouses them and does certain exercises with the dogs to pass a trial.
Yeah. And I think as I already said, the doing IGP should be a sports part.
Yes.
It should nothing. It should not have nothing. It should not be relevant for the breeding. There should be a different way to evaluate what we think is necessary for a dog, for a German Shepherd dog. There should be
Sure.
some tracking tests. There should be
Yes.
some social tests. There should be some even with obedience. Obedience is a pure training thing. There should be
Absolutely.
some like it's in the character assessment. There is the test of the bonding. Yeah,
Yes.
we should rather try to evaluate if the dog is more likely to bond with the handler, or
Yes.
better is it distracted. And when it comes to drives, it's the same. If we would be able to describe the drives in a better way, to find out which drive this dog is in which situation. If we
Yes.
could be able to describe them in a proper way, then this would probably help the breeders to say, okay, this dog is high in play drive. That's something I want to. This dog
Yeah.
has aggression. I don't want aggression. So
Sure.
this definitely would change the view of the thing. And
Right.
this
There would
would,
be less opacity.
yeah. But we this is a discussion. We this is we are in the theoretical committee again, and
Of course.
this is
Of
something
course.
we could establish there.
Yes.
We can't establish it in our living society, because the 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 club depends on the people who do IGP.
Sure. Sure.
The
Sure.
club
Sure.
depends on those who breed dogs, but
Yes.
the number of people um, is only or is connected to the people doing IGP sports.
Sure. But this hasn't this been a vicious cycle for the club that the smaller people have all left because they found no place for them in the club?
Sure, of course, yeah. It's that's why I don't know the numbers in your country. I know the numbers in our country. So it's yeah.
I mean, the whole world looks to Germany. I mean, America or India or China means nothing in the global context. We all look to Germany for direction. Whether people like to hear that or not, that is the case.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we, I mean, probably, not probably, but there might come a time when we need to re-evaluate the ways we try to define working abilities in our
Yep,
dogs.
absolutely. I
Because
agree.
the way we do it now might not be possible in the nearer
Coming
or
future.
farer future.
Yep.
So we better start to think about it in time instead
Yes.
of facing the problem when it's there.
Right. So to address that, that leads perfectly into the next question for the fictional committee. How would we bridge the gap between the two separate or distinct populations that we have created in the last 20 years to ensure both categories contribute to the breed's future as a collective?
In a perfect society, everybody would accept the others. So let's start with that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's this is I know that you like to come back to that all the time. So um, I have no recipe to get this together. Um, we need to deal with the fact that um, we have people who enjoy that part more than
Sure,
the other
sure.
part. So
Yeah, that's completely fine. No, my the funny reaction that that I was amused with was the people that are, let's say some judges. I'm not going to name anybody, but some judges that were actually quite appalled with me, and they wanted to like check my temperature if I was okay that I'm doing this, because in my kennel like now or in my small breeding program, I don't breed very often. The last litter I bred was 2 years ago, but whatever few breedings I do, I've started doing as of 28 starting from 2018. I've stuck so I was never a fan of the popular dogs. Anyways, I always looked for dogs that were normal dogs with very good aptitude for working ability, so to speak, with high prey drive, good sociability, good character, good resilience that could, survive me as a bad trainer that I am, that they could still be happy and work with me. Uh, and I found a few of those dogs that I was able to use. But the more I looked, and then after a few setbacks from breeding two popular dogs in Germany, I decided it was definitely not for me. I did not want winners. I wanted sound dogs. So I started looking with that particular criteria in mind, what dogs fit my program or what fit with my females. So I did a handful of these so-called mixed breedings with dogs from the other side. And I was surprised with the results I got. All the puppies, so there was, of course, no homogeneity anymore in those litters. They were very different from the dogs I had, and they were quite different from their fathers as well in the first generation. So I had dogs that I saw that were as puppies when they were born, they were more vital. These puppies got active a lot early. These puppies were really trainable. Most of them from the first breeding, literally every puppy went to a first time owner who never even had dogs before. Normally you think, oh, this guy's crazy, he's putting these crazy dogs with new people. And they all literally to the last person said, wow, had I known keeping dogs was so easy, I would have started a long time ago. The dog's so smart. He does, like, you show it to him one time and the dog knows it, and he can be a great house dog. He gets along with our cat, he gets along with our kids, he gets along with our guinea pig. And when the ball comes out, he's crazy. He wants to work with you, he wants to play with you, he has endless energy. So it's basically, it created the perfect companion dog that could have easily been a good competition dog when you wanted. So I kept a female from this litter, and I bred her back to one of my males, and I line bred on my mother line. And the next generation has already, again, went to novice homes. All the puppies went to novice homes where they had no experience with quote unquote high drive dogs before, or really pushy dogs. And all these dogs live in households normally. And a lot of them have actually started competing with their dogs in IGP because they see how much joy the dog finds in the work, but it's still a normal dog that you can go to the cafe with and take pictures with everybody and cuddle with everybody's children, like the model German Shepherds that we think about. And I've sent you pictures over the time of their routines and them working and all that stuff. They might not be what they're looking to promote in the show ring, but they're most definitely more sound German Shepherds than all these dogs with these big trophies. That I can say without a shadow of a doubt, because I've met a lot of these quote unquote famous dogs, and you could not pay me to keep them in my house because I have to see them every single day. That V8 trophy means nothing on the mantle when I have to live with this dog every single day. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and the normal people, when I took those rosy glasses off my eyes, and the normal people are more and more like that too. They don't really care of what winnings the dogs did. I can again illustrate the fact that I had female, like a few of my females that I prided in doing the titles, and they have such high working ability that they did such outstanding bite work, best bite work award in Germany and America, blah blah blah. Youngest female with a bite work award in Germany at 2 years. She made IPO3 and made the best protection in 2012. So her daughter is exactly the same like her. And the people who are taking the puppies, they're like, yeah, there you can see their eyes roll in the back of their head when I start telling about what the dog can do and what she did and what her mother did and what her grandmother did. It's important to me as a breeder that I did all these things. All these people care about is a sound puppy. Had she had that angulation and that roach back and those terrific hinds that can't really function but made top placements, these people wouldn't be coming to me for a puppy because most of them are going trail, like they have their horse and the dog is doing 10 miles a day on the trail with them because it's a
Yeah.
functional dog. Most of these
Yeah.
VA dogs unfortunately wouldn't be able to do that. And this is, I think, where we are missing as a community a really big part of what these dogs can be with some judicious breeding. And of course, it's because we're only looking, like you said, for a certain market that a lot of people are concentrated in selling dogs to. So it's, again, an economic interest that we might be standing up against, whether it's a high placing dog in the trial situation or the show situation. So that's where community education, I think, again, with the small people who are not the commercial people who have left the organizations for the most part, is, I think, where we should concentrate on. And who's better to answer that than you, who's been involved in the grassroots with your club as you came up in the sport in the last 40 years almost.
Yes, this is a good.
So,
I guess this is a good conclusion to the whole to the start of this conversation.
yeah,
That's what I wanted to point out. If we need to breed dogs that fit in the eyes and the hearts of the public. And the
yes,
public is not the elite breeders.
yes,
It's those people who want to have a German Shepherd puppy.
yeah,
And if we understand, and if by we say we breeders understand
the collective.
that we need to get back to an acceptance by the public, meaning then the German Shepherd breed will have a chance to improve again. If we don't understand that this is the highest or the main issue we need to face, then it will be difficult, as you said.
As always, sir, I'm always honored that you care to join us and spend your valuable time with us and speak so candidly on all these topics. And
Thank you
forever
very
thankful to
much.
you for that.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to share or to get your your input as well. I value these discussions as much as you do, hopefully. Thank you very much.
The pleasure's all mine, sir. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great evening.
You too.
Thanks.